What's up, Everyday Blades? Man, I hope you guys are doing well tonight. Seemed like a nice, cool night down here in Texas. Seemed like a good night to do a knife review. So, this is a new company to me. Pretty new company overall. Toor knives. I've seen them in the groups. I've watched a few reviews on them. I've actually had this on my list. It wasn't high on my list, but it's been on my list of knives to pick up to review. One, because they're a USA company. Always try to back USA companies. And two, it was an appealing looking knife. It looked like a knife I would like. So they had the Merchant 1.0, which from what I understand had thicker scales. A few people had some issues with them, but the few issues that I know about were taken care of very quickly by Toor. And sometimes that says more about a company than having no issues, right? Because everything's going to have an issue when you do volume. You're going to run into something. Humans make errors. So, first I want to get this out of the way. This is not a knife sent in for review. This is not, I do not know Toor knives. I've never spoken with them. This is a knife I bought out of my pocket at a local retailer, Collector's Firearms. Saw it in the case today and had to pick it up because it was I've seen a few of them, a few other places online, but they weren't the variant that I want. They didn't have the PVD coated scales, or the blade they did, and the blade was a Tonto. It just didn't have this version. So today, ran into it. It was an acceptable price, so I bought it. So let's get into it a little bit. So first off, packaging. Very nice. Very, very similar to a lot of very high-end knives. So that's where I purchased it, Collector's Firearms. If you're around the Houston area, you know about this place. I'm pretty sure they have almost every firearm throughout history that was ever made for sale. It's unbelievable. If you come to Houston, you have to go here. They also have a growing knife collection. Some customs on up to $6,000-$7,000 on down to CRKT. It's not a huge display. They probably got 4 display cases. Then they got a full bench-made display case, but huge selection of Microtechs. Very nice selection of Marfie-owned stuff if you're into that. Even Flask and stuff like that. So somebody who's in charge over there is a knife fan, because they got most stuff that most places that sell knives don't have. So check them out if you come to there. Don't have any affiliation with them either. I paid $294.95. Okay, so you get a nice Toor sticker. Sweet. Founder's message. You can pause that and read it if you want. I'm not going to go through all that. Veteran owned. We like that. As everybody knows, my wife and our son is a veteran. He's not a veteran. He's in the Army, so active duty. My stepson, her son. So this is their folding series. From what I understand, they have made fixed blades for a while and ventured off into the folding knife market, which all of us know that's a completely different animal. Comes with a very nice, large microfiber claw. And then, sweet case. Good to go. I actually don't know what this cutout is for. The knife was here. That's a little different. It's almost like something's missing. Okay. Anyway, back to the knife. So one thing I had heard was they had this quote-unquote Chris Reeves hydraulic action, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it's not a deal breaker for me. A knife doesn't have to be drop shitty. When I first deployed this knife, it had a very nice action. Nowhere close to drop shutty, but it was different than drop shutty. You didn't want that. I guess that you could fall under that hydraulic action they were talking about, but it would flick out there with authority. So now, after putting some gunny glide on it, it will almost drop shut. And that's just, the first day of having it. It's super, super sharp. The PVD is done very well. PVD or DLC, I don't know which the proper term is, but the clip glides in and out of the pocket probably better than any knife I put in my pocket this year, and I'm not kidding you. we'll weigh it here in a minute, but it's super light. So there's no apparent milling. But one thing they did from the 2.0 to the 1.0 was make the scales narrower. Man, and I think that changed the game in this knife. I didn't have the 1.0, but I can tell you I like this way better than having thicker scales. We don't need a big boat anchor in our pocket. This thing is just butter. So the closest knife, obviously, you can compare this knife to is Chris Reeves. I would actually, don't stomp me for this, but I would actually prefer this knife over a Chris Reeves. I like it better. It fits my hand better. It's, for me, this is a better knife. It's so much lighter. Let's check the weight on it real quick so you can see that. 3.2 ounces for a full titanium knife. Not too bad. So they use S35VN, good to go. The thumb stud geometry is perfect. The lock bar wasn't too tight, but I loosened it some just to make the action a little bit smoother. I don't advise people messing with the lock bar if you don't really know what you're doing. You can damage a knife, especially on an integral. Don't ever do that. There is no lock bar insert, not needed, and of course almost no knives need an over travel stop. Over travel stops are only needed on integral knives, right? Because on an integral knife, springing this back the other way is very difficult to do. On this knife, it's a matter of popping a couple of screws off and bending this bar back over. That's it. And I've never known anyone in my entire history of collecting knives who has oversprung a lock spring. So it's just a non-issue. It's a fix for a problem that doesn't exist. But if you want it there, that's fine. I mean, they look cool on there, but it's definitely not needed. Hear a lot of knife reviewers say, "Oh, give it penalty because it doesn't have a over travel stop." It doesn't need it. There's no use for it. How many times of all the knives have you had that you oversprung a knife? Never. I've never known anyone. I mess with mine. I loosen them up, and sometimes I loosen them up too far, and I bend it back a little bit, and I tune it. I get it just perfect where the action is the best it can be, still without having any lock rock. And this knife absolutely does not have any lock rock blade play. It's running on phosphorus bronze washers. Big, nice, nasty hardware. Love that. That clip, they got that clip perfect. I mean, it's not a milled titanium clip, but it's a stamped titanium clip, and it slides in your pocket perfectly. I mean, there is no binding. Love it. Got the ceramic D10 ball. I dropped a little Gunny Glide juice on there and a couple little drops of Gunny Glide on there, and she was already good. She was 50% better after I did that. That stuff is miracle juice. It's completely unsolicited advice. I don't get anything from them for saying that. It's good stuff. It's the only pivot lube I've ever used where I notice a difference between WD-40 all the way to, KPL. To me, the knife always functions the same. It didn't matter to me which one I grabbed because nano, oil, all of them, it's all been the same until I found this stuff. At Gunny Glide is crazy good stuff. I really like PVD scales over titanium. You get the lightweight of the titanium and the durability of the PVD. Now, I do not like it on my blades. I think it looks just like trash after a while to use on your blades. But some people like that patinaed used look. I'm not a fan of that. No big deal. We all like different stuff. No problem. Thumb studs just feel really good on this knife. Let's compare it to a couple other knives. This here is the Benchmade Grip Till-In. Very similar in size and length. And we'll do one other classic. The Spyderco Para 3. So it's about the same length and girth as similar to a Chris Reeves, but that's about where the similarities stop because the weight's significantly lighter. The knife just feels better. You don't get pain deploying the knife with your thumb. It's just, for me, it's a better knife. And, for under $300, come on. One thing that's a little different is they don't mark their blade with the blade steel. That's definitely different, right? And I don't know if that 1337 is a serial number. I think it's got to be a serial number. I don't know anything else it could mean. I think they're different on each knife, so really cool, really cool. I'm a fan. I didn't think I was going to be a fan. Honestly, guys, I thought I was going to buy this, review it, say, yeah, it was good, it's a good knife, blah, 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 like all the others. I don't do bad reviews, so if it's here, it's a good knife. But there's nothing special about it, but there is something special about it. These are early versions. This is a new company. This is really good. You will buy this and you won't be mad at me that you bought this. I can guarantee you that. You'll say, yep, he was right. That is a really good knife. But they're only going to get better because they have gotten a lot better between the 1 and the 2. Look at that carry profile. Sweet. I'm all over it. Alright guys, appreciate you watching. If you're not a member of our Facebook group, Everyday Blades, you need to go join. We give away knives almost every week. So go join. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. It really helps out. We have Patreon if you want to help out with that. We give away lots of knives to our Patreon members, so it's a really good deal. We have a great group of people in there. Guys, God bless you and your families. Say a prayer for our country. Good night.